As school districts around the country try to get remote learning systems in place, many of them are scrambling, and many of them are turning to Khan Academy, which is a nonprofit free resource, even before this time, for people to learn remotely. Full disclosure, my fifth grader is on Khan Academy through his remote learning program in New York City schools. We're joined now by Sal Khan, who is the founder of Khan Academy. Sal, it's good to see you. Thank you so much. I'm sure that you are very busy right now with all that that is going on. One of the ongoing concerns and ongoing themes that we've been talking about is accessibility of online remote learning, both from families that can't afford Wi-Fi, don't have computers, or folks who are in rural areas who don't have connections there. How do we go about trying to address some of that?
What we're talking about is, for something like Khan Academy to be useful, and, we've been trying to put resources together for many years, never imagining this scenario. But as a baseline, folks need some type of device access and some type of internet access. And the system has done a good job over the last many years, making it accessible at schools. But obviously, we're in a situation where it has to be accessible at homes. And a lot of school districts, you're talking about 20, 30, sometimes 40, 50% of the students don't have that access. And it's essential now, not just for accessing a Khan Academy, but also just for your mental health to stay in touch with friends and family. And so we're seeing a lot of good actions by districts. Right now, it's a little scattershot. We work very closely with Clark County, which is Las Vegas. They're fifth largest school district in America. They've done a great job distributing laptops. They've worked with the local telecom carrier to offer free internet at home. I know Comcast has a big program for free internet at home. So everyone's trying to do the right thing, but still early stages. All of it's happened so fast. Ray and Barbara Dalio in Connecticut have distributed 60,000 laptops to low-income high school students. So there's a lot of programs that are starting, but it has to accelerate. And if there's a silver lining, I hope it makes at-home access more of just a fundamental right than a nice to have.
Well, there's been a push to try and expand broadband service into rural parts of the country. I was curious, for those who don't have the necessary connection to do the real-time lesson planning with either their local school district or even Khan Academy, can they download the programs you've got? Because you have the new weekly learning plans. Is that downloadable if you have a slower internet speed?
So there are versions of Khan Academy that are downloadable. And everything I'm talking about, we're a nonprofit. It's all commercial free, non-commercial and free. No catch there. We have our apps allow some downloadable of material. We have a partnership with a few nonprofits that create offline versions of Khan Academy. The offline versions aren't as good as the online versions for obvious reasons. But we're trying to do what we can to get, because we've been serving, there's villages in places like India and Africa that had nowhere close to internet access 5-6 years ago. So we've even done things like distribute DVDs back in the day. So we're trying to do what we can to reach as many families.
Sal, it's Rick Newman. How low can you go in terms of grade level and still have online learning be productive? I mean, there must be a taper off situation as you go lower and lower because younger kids have, shorter attention spans and so forth. So do you have any idea where the cutoff is?
Yeah, I think I see the cutoff in my own household where I have a 11-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And the 5-year-old, for the most part, is below the cutoff. Their school is doing a heroic job for all three grade levels. But, for the 5-year-old to show up on a Google Meet or a Zoom and have proper etiquette with his 5-year-old friends, it definitely breaks down quite fast. So I think there are things you can do. We have Khan Academy Kids, which is for ages 2 to 6. It's not something that could be a full day of schooling by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that could be valuable for 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time, ideally sitting next to a loved one, a family member, or a sibling, to work through reading, writing, math, social emotional learning. One thing we are telling families, no one should place on themselves the expectation that they have to have, 7 hours or 8 hours of highly productive learning. Arguably, even a traditional school day, it's not like it's intense learning the entire time. So if you have a younger student, 4, 5, 6 years old, if you're able to get even 30 minutes of math a day and you're able to get 30 minutes of some form of reading a day, you're reading to them, or they're reading to you if they're ready, or if they're writing a little bit or practicing their letters, that's already a win, especially if you're able to do it through the summer and regain some of that lost learning.
Hey, Sal, I want to ask, as far as demand goes and increased demand, how much are you seeing as a result of the lockdowns and schools being shut down for, potentially in some cases throughout the rest of the year or school year? And how are you handling that influx of people?
Yeah, it's been pretty surprising. We've seen about 300% of normal traffic as soon as we saw we actually saw a spike out of Asia several months ago because of their school shutdowns. And then in the US, it's about 300% of normal traffic. And luckily, we have a great engineering team, and our servers, et cetera, have been able to handle it. On the other side, we're not for profit, so it's actually increased our costs to have to serve all of this. So we're definitely out there, hat in hand, trying to remind folks that we're funded with philanthropic donations, and that's what allows us to stay free and non-commercial as we try. But our goal is to it's our duty to step up more. This is why we exist as a not-for-profit, and so we're trying to keep people going through the end of the school year. And as you mentioned, we have these learning plans, we have daily schedules, we're trying to do other supports, teacher parent webinars. And then we're trying to encourage as many people as possible to continue learning through the summer. There's an opportunity there. And then we also know as we go back to school that we're not quite clear what's going to happen, and we might have intermittent closures again. So we're trying to work with districts to create virtualization plans, because the second time around, it won't be as acceptable to kind of not have a well thought out plan.
Sal, what is happening on the funding side? I mean, you have some supporters that have pretty deep pockets, right? And probably are not going to be jeopardized by what's currently going on. Places like the Gates Foundation, for example. But have you seen a hit to donations, and what are your needs right now, and are you filling them?
Luckily, we haven't seen a hit to donations. Our annual budget is around $60 million a year, which, I get a little cortisol boost every time I say it, because I have to fundraise a lot of that. But I remind myself and others that's the budget of a large high school, and we reach over 100 million students every year. But we were already running at a deficit. We didn't have $60 million to spend going into this year. And then you can imagine our server costs are now going to be a multiple of what they were. We're trying to run more programs. We're trying to accelerate some of our content creation into back to school so that more families can be supported. So we have seen some corporations step up, folks like Bank of America, AT&T, Google.org, Novartis. And just in the last few weeks, as corporate sponsors, we've seen a lot of individual givers over the last few weeks, but our deficits are increasing. So what I've told our team is we just have to do what's right now, step up for the world, and hope that, whatever positive karma we put out there can come back.
Sal, thank you so much. Much positive karma to you. Sal Khan is the founder of Khan Academy. He joined us from Mountain View, California.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.